Nalitazamia tumaini yenye baraka na mafunuo. Nalitazamia tumaini yenye baraka na mafunuo.
Nitazamia siku hii yenye baraka na mafunuo.
Nalitazamia tumaini yenye baraka
na mafunuo. Nilitazamia siku hii yenye baraka na mafunuo.
Nalitazamia tumaini yenye baraka na mafunuo.
Ni siku ya shangwe kuwakaribisha wote wageni wetu. Leo ni siku ya shangwe kuwakaribisha wote wageni wetu. Leo
ni siku ya shangwe kuwakaribisha wote wageni wetu. Leo ni siku ya shangwe kuwakaribisha wote wageni wetu. Hongera, hongera wageni wetu. Mmetumwa na Mungu kuwafadhili watoto wa seremala. Hongera, hongera wageni wetu. Mmetumwa na Mungu kuwafadhili watoto wa seremala.
AIDS in the country is still growing. We haven't plateaued yet. When we looked at our parishes, we realized there are a lot of children that don't go to school. So we said, what is happening? Because education in Tanzania is free, though parents are asked to buy uniform, shoes, and also provide exercise books for the children to go to school. And we did a test, and we realized that in every parish, I have 200 parishes, we had more than 150 children who don't go to school, most of whom are vulnerable children and also HIV orphans. And so all of a sudden I found myself burdened with this suffering of my people. And I know that children are our future. And if we don't make sure that our children are educated and looked after, there will be no nation.
In Tanzania, education is theoretically free. The government provides schools, but children can't attend school unless they have uniforms, shoes, and books, and pencils, and supplies. So those things cost money. So that means that it's not really free, and there's so many children who are so vulnerable, and especially AIDS orphans, that have no source of income, and they can't afford these things.
Well, one of the things I really liked about Carpenter's Kids, and one of the reasons we originally got involved, is sometimes we see these commercials and whatnot where you can give $1 a day or $100 a month and things like that. We come to find out that a lot of that money goes towards advertising and for the actors and for the filming and things like this. At Carpenter's Kids, 100% of the money goes right to the kids.
People often ask us, why Tanzania, why this particular place, why not closer to home? Our goal in the Diocese of New York is to engage in mission, local as well as global. So for us, it's not an either or. But I also feel it's important to point out that their want in the developing world is connected to our affluence and our consumption. So they might be far in distance, but in terms of cause and effect, they're not very far at all.
We estimated there will be 50,000 HIV orphans and also vulnerable children in our parishes. And the church has to care, the church has to respond. We are crushed in that area, in those parishes, in those communities. And when I looked at our resources, we didn't have other than prayer and a little bit of support. So I said, well, I had to go and look for friends.
It was a visit of Bishop Mdime Mahogala to the Diocese of New York and a conversation that we had in 2005 that started all of this off. I knew of the problems of AIDS in Africa, certainly, and of AIDS orphans. But it's hard to know what one can do, or even what a diocese can do in a way that's really effective in in a situation and an epidemic of this proportion. And one of the things he was very clear about was that he did not want to be our project. He wanted to be our partner. But in that initial conversation, I asked Bishop Mdimi what it would cost per child for us to become partners and really enable these children to go to school. And he said $50, and I'm waiting for a month to follow, but he said $50 a year. And my response was, excuse me? And he said, no, it's $50 a year. And I thought, we can do this. We can do this.
The partnership it's not necessarily what an American views as a partnership. We tend to think that maybe we know what's best. And when we go into other countries, sometimes in mission work, we want to bring our American ideals and our American goals and our American, the way we do things. And in this instance, we really do look toward Bishop Mahogalo and his staff for leadership, to tell us what is needed in their world, what would work culturally for them. And we try to follow that advice with the entire program.
They know that education is the key, and without education and nutrition and clean water, without mosquito nets to keep them from malaria and disease, these are the things that really hold them back from what God has called these children to be.
People tell us that they are so moved that exactly what we promised we would do, we have done and we continue to do. We are showing up on the day we say we will to give them their uniforms. Their children are going to school, and we have children that are graduating from primary school and able to move on to secondary school. When we go and we hand these uniforms, this is one of the values of pilgrimage and being there. When we hand a child a uniform and their guardian is standing there and looks you in the eye and gives you a hug because you can now her child can now go to school, it's beyond words. Because of course that mother or guardian wants what anyone wants for their child. It's the same thing. They want them to be safe, they want them to be healthy, and they want them to be educated. And they know that education is a way of improving their life. It will give them hope. And without education, these children really had no hope. They are on the fringe of their own society. They're not really accepted by the other children because if they don't have a uniform for school, they're targeted as poor.
When you go and children are getting their uniforms for the second year, you can see the difference that the nutrition has made. Their little faces have filled out. They're full of energy. They're full of confidence. They're very gregarious and outgoing and happy to meet you. And you can see the transformation that happens with them. And that's very gratifying. That is very powerful. And it's very humbling. Because that change, that miraculous change, was affected by less than $75. And a lot of love and care by our partners as well.
Wanafunzi wake